Hello children, I welcome you all to another session of this class, and in today's class we are taking a new chapter from the main book, and the chapter name is Flames in the Forest. So this story is written by Ruskin Bond, and as we know he was a very famous writer and born in Kasauli, India. He wrote his first novel, The Room on the Roof, when he was 17 years old and won the John Llewellyn Rice Prize for it. He has written over 100 stories, poems, and essays, and about 30 books for children. So, he also got the Sahitya Akademi Award for English writing in India. He has also been honored with the Padma Shri. So, he was a very famous writer, and I'm sure you also have gone through his stories in the previous chapters too. So, he always writes beautiful stories for children. And this story is about the forces of nature can help forge new human bonds. Yes, we get new friendship even through the help of the nature. So here we are talking about a boy and his friends and his father. The boy name was Romy. He was about to mount his bicycle and suddenly what he saw that smoke rising from behind the distant line of the trees, and it looks like a forest fire. So his friend said like that. His friend's name was Prem. And so Romy need to go back to his home, and it was a very strong wind blowing too, and Prem, looking at the dry leaves swirling across the road, he said that it's a very strong wind, and it was getting dark soon, and you would better spend the night at my house. So Prem said to Romy that you can spend the night here, but he said what? He said that he cannot stay there for the night because he need to go back to his home to give his father some tablets, because his father was having some kind of sickness, and the doctor has given him some pills which he needed to give to his father immediately. So he need to go home. And Romy, he said that I have to go home now, so he set out for his home on his bicycle, and his village was about 7 miles on the other side of the forest. So he rode swiftly out of the village, and ahead of him was a smoke also, and it was very much severe. The forest fire always, engulfed the whole forest within a second. So that's how it was spreading. And then what happened? He soon left behind that village from where he came. He was now paddling on the edge of the forest, and this was the part Romy enjoyed the most. The wind was rushing past him, blowing his hair and about his face and making his shirt billow out. That means when he was riding the bicycle, the shirt was blown out by the wind, his hair was also blown out. So that's what he was enjoying. And the smoke became very thicker and thicker, and even he could smell the burning timber. The trees were burning so badly. And yes, but ahead of him, what he saw was he saw many animals coming in front of him, and he saw some hare leaping across the road. Then several more hares also came. Then band of monkeys, they crossed the road chattering, and then even he saw some deer. So he saw lots of uh, birds also, parrots, then jungle crows, owls, magpies. All this fill the air with cries. These animals and birds were crying like anything. They're screeching because why? The forest fire is destroying their homes. So they are just running for their safety. And then what happened? Even a herd of deer crossed ahead of him, and he had to stop in between so that the animals cross the way and then he can cross. And then what happened? He heard something like a fire engine. The sound was not from a fire engine, actually it was a noise which came from a small boy who was running along the forest path with two milk cans clattering at his side. So he was a milkman's, that means he was a milk boy. He carried tin of milk, and he was just coming along. So that clattering sound was some like the fire engine sound. And uh, so Romy, when he saw the boy, he just called him as Teju. His name was Teju. "So what are you doing out here?" Romy was talking to the boy. Otherwise, he would never talk with the boy, but that moment he just called him by his name. And Teju said that I'm just trying to get back to my home, and he was just panting. And then what Romy said? Romy said that come jump on my bicycle and we will ride together to our home. And then Teju just sat back on his bicycle and they were just talking and they were just going through the forest. And then what happened? The fire was very close and flames shot up, smoke billowed out above the forest. Romy's eyes were also burning, but he couldn't stop now because if he will stop right in the middle of the forest, they will also get burned and he need to go home. So he cannot stop in between. He was just going on riding the bicycle. A tall silk cotton tree, its branches leaning across the road, had caught fire. They were almost beneath it when there was a crash, and a branch fell to the ground a few yards in front of them. So it was very risky coming through the forest fire. And then what happened? An elephant was standing in the middle of the road. It moved about restlessly, its big ears flapping, wondering which way to go. So, from the left, where the forest was still untouched by fire, a herd of elephants moved towards the river. And then the leader of the herd raised his trunk and trumpeted a call. Hearing it, the elephant on the road raised its own trunk and then trumpeted a reply. So, this way, he also met with the herds of elephants, and they walked into the forest in the direction of the herd, and Teju sat on the crossbar. Romy paddled swiftly. And then they just came to the side of the other path, and then they saw that they were close to the river. And then they gripped the smooth stones of the river bed with their toes. They reached the opposite bank and sank down on the grass. And then, luckily, they got escaped from the very disastrous forest fire, and they could see that the whole sky was bright red and the river reflected the color of the sky. So in the river water you can see the sky reflection, and that reflection was completely red in color. So several elephants also had found their way down to the river, and they were cooling themselves by spraying water with the trunk. And others, deers, and all other animals also came back to the river, and they were all taking rest and they just saved their lives. And Romy and Teju looked at each other in the glow from the fire. They hadn't known each other very well before, but now they felt that they had been friends for years. So, this natural disaster made a close relationship between Teju and Romy. And yes, so nature can also help us to build friendship or a relationship, right? So due to this forest fire, they could become friends. So I'm sure you can now understand how even the friendship can happen between the two individuals, right? So yes, we have finished up this chapter. Hope you all do your assignment properly and submit your everything, classwork or homework, on time, and stay blessed. We'll meet again in our next class. Thank you, children.